My name is Tom Whitehead, and I'm the proud father of Emily and the president and co-founder of the Emily Whitehead Foundation.
My name is Don Siegel. I'm a physician scientist at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. And I was involved with the team that helped develop CAR T cells that helped Tom's daughter, Emily.
I came to the AABB conference to be a keynote speaker to share our story of how my daughter Emily became the first child in the world with her immune system trained to beat her cancer, and how people in the blood world played a major part in the research behind it, and then the success that she's had, which has helped people from all over the world.
So I've been at the University of Pennsylvania for over 4 decades in the area of transfusion medicine. And at the AABB meeting, which is where we are right now, is an organization I've been a member of. This is my 37th consecutive year here. And what the AABB is involved in is what I do in work, which is apheresis, which is where we treat patients who have blood disorders, take out cells for manufacturing drug products, and running the blood bank, and also run labs that can engineer cells into cancer-fighting drugs. And so when Tom first came to Penn with his daughter, this is how we met, this is how we got involved.
What we learned when Emily needed apheresis to extract her cells is quite simply they told her that we're going to pull T cells out of your white blood cells, and we're going to take them to the lab and send them to boot camp, and we're going to turn them into an army that'll come back, and that army will fight against your cancer and take it away. But what we learned is, I didn't know at the time, but you have T cells and B cells in your blood, and Emily's B cells were her cancer. That was her leukemia. So there's people like Don that extract those T cells out of your blood to take them off and genetically modify them in the lab. So Don works with the adults, but we had Emily at the pediatric center when she got hers. And then eventually we wanted to go over and meet Don and meet who helps the adults, because I was actually having adult patients reach out to me. And then I believe there was a patient that we helped get to you the day that we met Don, and we went to see him. And Don came up and said, "Hey, Emily, while you're here, it's nice to meet you, but I wanted to show you this wall in Penn by his apheresis center, where we have like the history of the very first blood transfusion up to now, where you are the very first pediatric CAR T cell patient that turned into the FDA approval." So
yeah, so her picture is up on the wall.
So he has her picture in the wall by his apheresis center. And I realized early on then how much Don cares. And from then on, once we met Don, if I had an adult patient in need, I could text him anytime. Didn't matter where he was, he would answer, because he cares a lot about those patients. And still to today, if somebody's in need and I need help and I'm looking for answers from Penn, I can, thankfully text Don or Carl June or Bruce Levine, who helps grow the cells. And that's one of the things that changed with Emily's success. People ask me, how did your life change? I said, well, there are a lot of people answer my texts and calls now that I probably would have trouble getting in touch with before, because they know it can make a difference for a patient.
So this whole experience was really a great collaboration between Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania and the Adult Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, which are right next to each other. So Emily, being a child, was treated at Children's Hospital, and they have an apheresis unit there that collected her cells. And then the laboratory that genetically modified the cells to create these CAR T cells happens to be located in the adult hospital next door, which is how I was involved in it. And I think the day that we took those pictures in the hallway, I think, was the day that she got gowned up and went into the lab that made her cells.
Yeah.
We took some pictures of her inside there, and she had a full gowned up and was playing with the computer in the lab there. I mean, overall, the cellular therapy started with red blood cells and platelets and plasma transfusions. And the ABB was created decades ago and created a system for that process to be done safely. In this case, we made use of apheresis technology that's used all the time for bone marrow transplantation, collecting stem cells. And we applied it, in this case, to collecting T cells, which is what the CAR T cells are made from. And now the cells went into a research lab to create these CAR T cells. The success led to an FDA approval of that process. And now it's sort of come back full circle where apheresis units will collect cells from patients, ship them to a manufacturer, a pharmaceutical company that will make the cells, send them back to hospitals. And now the AABB, again, kind of full circle, is involved in that whole process and making sure it's as safe as conventional transfusions.
In the beginning, when Emily was still in the intensive care unit, my wife Carrie and I were just kind of putting in time, waiting for her to get better. And we just asked one day and said, we'd like to see where these cells are made and who was involved with it so we can, see the process and also thank them in person. And that was really the start of our, getting to know them. And these doctors now are like family to us. But, to be taken over there and meet them and then gown up and go in the lab and see. And once we had interest in that, when Emily got healthy enough, she said, I want to not only see the process and tour the lab, but I also want to meet one of these mice that's genetically me, because there is actually mice that genetically are Emily. So, right away, Dr. Grupp was like, it takes me 5 days or so to get permission to take a member of Congress to see that. But we're going to be moving one of those mice from one part of the hospital to the other, so the elevator could open and you could actually meet one very quickly. So that's how we did it, yeah. And she was like so intrigued, and they were very, very nice looking mice, and they moved them around in what looks like the Chinese food takeout boxes.
Yeah.
And have a little grass in there and a stick so they feel comfortable. They like to be in the dark. So we learned a lot about that, and I was just very thankful. And it was really amazing to me when Emily went to college. The University of Pennsylvania said to all their students that are applying, write a thank you letter to someone that you haven't thanked yet. And she wrote her thank you letter to the research mice that give up their lives so other people can survive. I would say, what I witnessed in the beginning when Emily first got better and then FDA approval came within 5 years, that there was a lot of funding that came into the area. And I was even, going to conferences and hearing the venture capitalists saying why it was now worth investing in, because not only do you have a great return, but you save lives. And then it shifted with the policy changes in the new administration where they decided they want to do things a little different, but no one really knew what the roles were. And then all of a sudden, these same families that I've been helping are being told there's a wait list, or they have to look somewhere else because people have lost some funding. So we really, in a positive way, like we always have, is try to use our story to bring people together. So we've been trying to talk to anybody that'll listen to us that are policymakers, saying this is what happened when Emily got better. And now, unfortunately, that is slowing down. And we don't want to see that happen because the patients, the next family that's being told you're 48 hours from organ failure isn't finding hope in that trial that they were before. And one example was a family who was running out of options at MD Anderson, and MD Anderson actually helped them get into a trial in Rome, Italy. And I had another mom from Australia reaching out who attempted to get to the US, and she actually ended up getting her son in a trial in Beijing. So before that, it really wasn't an experience I had with all the patients we've helped. And my goal again is to use our story to bring people together, realize what can happen, and help speak to whoever will listen so that changes and that we get the funding back, which is well-deserved. So doctors like Don Siegel don't have to be out looking for donations and funding, and they can concentrate on actually what they're good at and curing cancer.
The way this started, a product is made by one person with their hands. And now that there are so many of these products available, and so it's been proven to be of help, so many patients need them, and there needs to be a way of automating the process. And so being able to deal with the demand for these cells is a problem. And initially, it would take perhaps 9 days to manufacture the cells, plus other times to make sure they're functional and so forth. We've gotten that down to 3 days, hopefully trying to get it to even a shorter period of time. And eventually, there may be a way of just having the product not have to be made from the patient's own cells, but a large batch made from some healthy person's cells, and they'd be just on the shelf. So a patient would come in with this type of problem, and then they would, like any drug, they would be prescribed the drug and they could get it the next day. It wouldn't have to be manufactured from that person and take a period of time to make. And that would also make it less expensive.
I mean, events like AABB conference are very important to me because there's so many people in these industries that never get to put a face to who they're helping, and they work behind the scenes, and it's a lot of time away from their families. So I like to come and even be willing to take time away from my family to tell them how important their work is, and that how much I try to inspire them, but they also inspire me. And I try to also learn from these conferences, so when the next patient reaches out to me with whatever need they have, that I might learn something here that I could help them, again, find hope in an experimental trial when standard treatments aren't working.
Yeah. For me, I've known Tom now for quite a long time, and I've met many of the families because we were involved in the original generation of these cells. So I have this connection and this inspiration I get from being so close to the patients who get the cells. And I invited Tom, or suggested Tom be invited to give this talk here at AABB, because I thought the thousands of people in the AABB may not have had that opportunity, and they would be, thrilled and inspired to hear his story.
I'd like to share with everyone in the AABB community that the work that they do saves families like ours. And I said in my talk that when you save a child in a family, you save the entire family. But not just from our family, but from families from all over the world, that we're very thankful for the work that groups like the AABB do.